Hello there people, my name's Amanamaz and I just finished watching season 1 of Moon Knight on Disney+. I have to say, it's pretty good, better than pretty good even. I would say it's probably the best Disney Plus Marvel show, with Loki being a close second. What I liked the most about this show was that it was barely connected to the MCU as a whole. Like, there's one sly Black Panther reference, but that even wasn't about the character but the ancestral plane. But other than that, it's completely standalone. And I find it refreshing that I don't have to remind myself of the previous movies or other shows to fully enjoy this. Though I do feel like I have to brush up on my ancient Egyptian history. It did feel like a history lesson in a way, but the good kind. Like when you have the cool teacher teaching you. Oh, I forgot to mention that I will be going into spoilers as it's the show review, so you have been warned. The world this show set up was beautiful, even though it's already set in the MCU. Like, apart from New York and Wakanda, the world building on the rest of the earth is pretty lacking, and having a focus on Egypt was quite the change and nice to see. I read somewhere that the director wanted to show Egypt for what it's actually like in real life, when compared to previous movies when they show Egypt as just sand, and the people are like spiritual wanderers when they're just like everyone else. And I think he did a pretty good job of that. The characters themselves I think were pretty well done, especially Oscar Isaac. If you haven't guessed, he played Moon Knight, a superhero with dissociative identity disorder. That felt like a mouthful. But basically, he has a split personality. He was so good at portraying it while keeping it respectful. He played Marc Spector and Stephen Grant really well. While yes, his English accent was almost stereotypically bad, you get where it comes from because Marc Spector created Stephen based on his version of Indiana Jones when he was a kid. And his childhood was hella rough to watch. Like, the amount of abuse he got from his mum is heartbreaking. And being responsible for his brother's death when they just wanted to play. You can't help but feel bad for him and what he's been through. And Oscar Isaac does a great job at showing that pain. It's weird to say, but it should be kind of obvious. But he has really good chemistry with himself. Like, the back and forth between Mark and Steven is probably the best part of the show. And I really want to see more of them together. The supporting characters were really good also. Layla is a badass, and seeing her become the Scarlet Scarab suited her character really well. Like, she isn't some generic love interest, but someone who has her own background and story arc. Khonshu, the Egyptian moon god, was pretty cool. Him and Mark, and then with Steven, had great interactions with one another. Like, he's a dick, but it seems like he's a dick with good intentions, if you know what I mean. And when he gets locked up, you feel disappointed that it happened. And you'll want to see him with Mark and Steven again. I know in the comic there's more of a twist regarding the character, and I'm glad we don't see it yet, because I do want to see them more together first. And his design was so cool. I'm not sure it's realistic in terms of mythology, but he looks so badass, and the skull is pretty intimidating. Like, it would make a pretty cool paperweight or something you would put on your desk. He essentially has a massive kaiju fight with Amit, another Egyptian god, but looks like a crocodile. And I'm a sucker for kaiju fights, so I thought that was awesome. I kinda wish we saw more of that though, as we didn't see much of him in action. In fact, I wish we saw a lot more of the gods. We only saw 3 of them, I think, and Amit only appeared in the last episode. We saw avatars of the other gods, but not their god form, so I did find that disappointing. Now, the main human villain, Arthur Harrow, played by Ethan Hawke, I thought he was disappointing. He's basically a cult leader to free Amit. Like, I just never saw him as a threat or anything. And I might have missed it, but I still don't get how he got his powers of judging people's souls. Though Ethan Hawke is really creepy in his performance, so it wasn't all bad. Harrow also puts broken glass in his sandals, which makes me cringe every time I see or hear it. Like, who the fuck does that? The story of the season was pretty solid. Like, it wasn't outlandish like Loki, or more grounded like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But it was definitely a nice blend between the two. Though it does have the same theme of should we get rid of people before they commit the crime, like in the Winter Soldier film. The story wraps up nicely for an individual season, I think. But they leave a few things open-ended to explore in season 2 if they do that. So overall, I really enjoyed this show and I really recommend that you watch it. It's fun and you can watch it in isolation if you haven't caught up with everything else. And you even learn a few things about history too. It also doesn't feel as divisive as some of the other MCU shows, so that's good. I really hope there is a season 2 because I would watch the hell out of it. If I had to give it a rating, it would be an 8.5 out of 10. It's a very good starting point for next season, and I hope they do carry on this level of quality. I hope you like my review and opinion on Moon Knight. If you could leave a like and subscribe, that would greatly be appreciated. And I shall see you tomorrow for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.